Hello, everyone. We are here to break down yet another week of EPL action. Leo, I feel like you are going to drown in every ounce of my tears.
It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be, we're going to go chronologically. So the tears will be last, or the tears could be first. It could be either way. But other than that, Leo, how was your weekend of watching the footy?
It was great. I feel like I didn't watch the correct games because I ended up stuck in a really boring Everton-Tottenham game as the main one that I watched the whole time. But I heard some good news and I heard not so good news, and I'm excited for what's to come.
Okay. Well, let's start at the very beginning. A very, very good place to start, as they say. Southampton with a 1-0 win against Aston Villa, which was interesting in a couple different ways. First of all, you have to say Villa are in the mud right now, and Southampton did a really good job of keeping up. But also, and I don't know if you caught this, Villa fired their manager as well. So the wheels are fully off the bus there in Villa. That is now 5 losses on the bounce. And for Southampton, this is four games unbeaten. So they're right in the ship. They've won 3 of their last 4. Remember the last couple of times we talked, when is Southampton going to pick it up? They're up to 3-5-3, which again is not amazing. 3-5-3, which is not amazing, but that's them coming into some sort of form. This was the Friday afternoon game. Did you get a chance to watch it at all?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, there wasn't, to be fair, there wasn't really a ton to watch.
Who was the previous coach that they fired?
Dean Smith. So Dean Smith. The guy that they've had for a couple of years. Like, he led them into the Premier League. They played very well last year, and I thought that they would be a lot better this year, and they just weren't. I laugh at our predictions where you were heavy on Leicester, which again we will talk about Leicester. And I was heavy on Villa, but neither one have gone right. And there's a lot of different reasons why it's gone wrong at Villa, mainly beginning with the fact that their defense is horrendous, like actually horrendous. They have Tyrone Mings out of the side. A lot of people are saying they don't have John Terry anymore, and maybe losing a coach like that with such defensive pedigree has seen their standard drop, but the standard has dropped. And like I said, for Southampton, this is a good 3 points. Away they took care of business at home, and Villa actually, now that I looking at the form table, they're actually the team in the worst form in the league. So we'll get to the team that formerly had the worst form in the league, but yeah, they have the worst form in the league.
Terrible.
5 losses in a row. Is it 5 or is it 6 now? Because I can only see 5.
I'm gonna say 6.
Now, the last team, we'll get to them. Actually, this is a perfect pivot. We're now going to talk about the last team that Aston Villa beat. Man United.
Ouch.
Man United, who Villa did beat 1-0 on September 25th in the last game that they won. They looked pretty terrible against Man City. That was the early game on Saturday. With daylight savings, it wasn't as early. It was an 8:30 instead of a 7:30 kickoff here. Did you catch any of that game? I know you were out and about hiking in the wilderness, but did you catch that before your journeys on Saturday?
I did. I ended up watching the first half, and I think I had a chance to watch the second half, but I was sick to my stomach from what I saw in that first half. It was terrible. Man City looked, 5 times better than Man United. Man United couldn't string more than 3 passes together, and that's if or when City would allow them to have the ball in their possession, because they couldn't get out of their own half. And I mean, it was really fun to watch City play like that. Me liking Manchester United, not so much fun. Cristiano didn't show up. None of the big stars showed up. Bruno tried to do a little here and there, but it wasn't convincing. It wasn't that first team that we saw on match day 1, where United looked like they were going to steamroll through everybody. And yeah, changes need to happen.
Well, that is accurate, but so it's simple but accurate. The changes need to been done. I mean, their last 3 games in the league, they got beat 5-0 and 2-0 at home against their 2 biggest rivals. And then, they got a 3-0 win against Spurs, but that was a Spurs team with a lame duck coach. And a lot of people are saying, and I know we didn't break down that weekend of play, that was the worst thing that happened for United, because there's a lot of people that think United lose that game, they get Conte. So the only game that they won there, and yes, they did beat Spurs resoundingly, they actually probably lost in the long run. Because if that is an opposite scoreline, if Tottenham wins that game 3-0, you fire Ollie, you hire Conte probably. But instead, you win the game, we're going to give Ollie another chance. Then you get a draw against Atalanta, and then City just play you off the park. I heard somebody saying earlier today, and this is absolutely true, the biggest disrespect was City didn't use a sub. City just didn't feel like they needed to do anything to change the outcome of the game. They just said, you know what, we'll go with the 11 we have. And both of the goals were so clinical. I mean, the own goal to open the game up early, that was obviously an embarrassment. And then Silva took a nice goal, but was it really that impressive? I mean, he wasn't closed down, and he made a tidy finish. And I know you alluded to United looked good early in the season, but I mean, you look at these results and not impressive. It's not impressive. And I know we'll get to Tottenham and Liverpool here shortly, which are of course tough games that United have had in this little stretch, but nothing here. No, I can't see an impressive result on United's schedule. I can't see something. I mean, yeah, it's great they beat Leeds 5-1, but Leeds look terrible this year. They beat Newcastle 4-1. Newcastle's the only team without a win in the league. They beat Spurs 3-0, but it was a Spurs that were a shell of themselves. I mean, you see them with 2-goal loss to Leicester, a 2-goal loss to City, a 5-goal loss to Liverpool. They got problems. They got problems. And I know a lot of people want to criticize the players on the team, but there are plenty of very talented players that Ollie is just not playing in the right place and not doing the right the right things with. He tried Cavani and Ronaldo up top against Tottenham, and they had a good thing going, and then he just completely abandoned that. It's Ronaldo saving the team. Let's just call a spade a spade. If Ronaldo is Ronaldo, they'll get a draw or they'll get a tight game. If Ronaldo is marked out of the game, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. If somebody shuts down, I mean, look at I'm now looking at the result form. They beat Villarreal at the end of September. That's Ronaldo. They beat Atalanta at the end of October. That's Ronaldo. They beat Tottenham. That's Ronaldo. They drew against Atalanta. That's Ronaldo. Period. And if that's the way that they're going to play, fair enough. Ronaldo is a great player. He's one of the he's one of the top 5 players that's ever played the sport. But you can't have a team that's based on one player. You can't. You're not going to win that way.
You can, but the other players have to be on board. And that's the problem with this team, is because everybody wants to be Ronaldo. Bruno Fernandes wants to be Ronaldo. Pogba wants to be Ronaldo. Cavani wants to be Ronaldo. Young guy, Greenwood.
Mm-hmm.
Greenwood's more of a team player. He's younger, but he also wants to be Ronaldo. He's up and coming. You can't have 10 Ronaldos in one team. You can only have one. It worked out with Messi in Barcelona. Everybody was playing for Messi. They were loyal to Messi's game. They played around him. They played in his space or out of his space.
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo makes his own plays and finishes them for the most part, because nobody's playing around him. Nobody's playing for him. Not a lot of people, at least. Bruno will sometimes, but the way that he's programmed already is he wants to be Ronaldo. And I don't know. That's the main thing for me. Is like, you can't have a team that relies just on Ronaldo, but all the other team mates have to be on board.
But why does a team that finished second in the table last year and is trying to build something, why is that team adding a guy who is so selfish? I can't say anything beyond selfish, because Ronaldo is the most selfish player in world football. And that's not a problem 99.9% of the time. I won't say 99.9, 90% of the time. When you have a team like those Real Madrid teams that were so good, but they just needed that extra piece, Ronaldo makes a difference. But when you have a Juventus team that was kind of all over the place and needed more of a stable head, Ronaldo didn't fit. When you have a United team that have a manager in Ale who never really set up a real DNA of the team and doesn't have like a vocal leader, having a guy like Ronaldo who just comes in and says, give me the ball or else, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I've said this a few times, this team had needs outside of let's add Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes and no. I mean, it's either we buy Ronaldo or the team that's already set up for Ronaldo will get Ronaldo.
He was never going to Man City. That was smoke and mirrors to position United to make. He was never going to Man City. He was never going to Man City.
I don't know. It would have been dangerous for United to even allow that, though. And it sounds great. Ronaldo coming back, he was a star. But I don't know.
I mean,
he's a goal scorer.
And I said this on an earlier podcast, and it became a yelling match that I did partially to drive people crazy. What does Ronaldo do that Edison Cavani doesn't do? I mean, I understand that Ronaldo gives blinding pace, but Edison Cavani is a stone cold killer in the box. That's what he's done his whole career. And that's what Ronaldo does. Now, I understand that Ronaldo brings pace, but he's also old. He is. So he doesn't bring amazing pace. I mean, Rashford and Greenwood are both more pace options.
And I think it's a true poacher thing. I mean, even though Cavani is a poacher, I think he moves a little bit more than Ronaldo. I'm not saying it's bad or good, but I'm saying the fact that Ronaldo doesn't move as much, that he stays pretty stationary. People know where to look for Ronaldo because he doesn't move much. That's probably what's giving him so many goals, is that he sits at the top of the 18 waiting for either a cross, which you can see his desperation whenever somebody has it on the wing. He's already trying to make eye contact with him and, tell him with body language, give it to me. Otherwise, he gets it a lucky rebound off the top of the 18 and smacks it into a corner, and that's how he's getting his goals. Cavani will be in those spots. He knows how to look for those spots where Ronaldo is, but Cavani is also a team player. He doesn't have that greed that Ronaldo has. So he's also going to be back there somewhere helping out the middle or trying to get the ball, which sometimes works to his against him. Sometimes works against him because he's just moving around too much. Where Ronaldo, you know exactly where he's at.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there were two teams. I know that this sounds stupid, but there were two teams in this game. One of which, obviously, is very much so in the title race. I mean, United are now 9 points off the top. I know we're 11 games into the season, and I'm going to use that logic here very soon, very quickly, and very efficiently. But I mean, 9 points, 11 games in, with the way that they look, is tough. Now, had they gotten a guy like Conte, it'd be different. But United have now lost 3 of the last 4 games, and they are firmly entrenched in the mud. Whereas Man City, after they lose a game to Crystal Palace, they win. That now gives them 3 wins in the last 4. They are now 3 points off first. Without just saying, okay, business as usual, what did you see from City that impresses you? As now City and Chelsea, who we will talk about in a minute, are the only 2 teams that have allowed single-digit goals. City are now, well, they're still third in the table in goal difference. Only 22 goals scored this season, though. So what did you see from City that impressed you?
Well, I think their ability to retain the ball, even when it's one of their own shots, is kind of like in basketball, you have a stat for rebounds. I think that should be an interesting stat in soccer. Whereas if you shoot the ball and get the rebound back within a certain number of seconds, that should be a stat, because it's important. It played an important part in this game on shutting down Manchester United, not letting them do shit with the ball. They could have done something, but didn't get a chance to. So that was impressive. And just the ability of all the players in City, the ability of them to score a goal, like forward, midfield, winger, all the way back to the defenders. This guy Cancelo is a monster. And what does he originally play? Left back, Cancelo?
Yeah, but he plays, and we'll talk more about this with another team in the title race.
Arnold.
what Pep has been doing is he's been sliding him a little bit more inside, and he's been doing that for almost a season now. And what it's doing is it's giving extra width, and it puts the midfielder more on the wing and plays Cancelo through the middle because they just don't want to spam crosses. Which the bigger point, I'll let you finish what you were going to say, because I had some thoughts on what makes City different, but I'll let you finish what you were saying.
I think he starts a lot of the attacks, and he has the people on the left side like Phil Foden, in the middle, what's his name, to back him up on those plays. I don't know. That was impressive for me. And I think that's why they held on as good as they could, because from the rebounds, you have somebody that you can go all the way back to, not only the keeper, but somebody with ability and footwork in the back to not mess up a play and to not lose the ball whenever you get a rebound back. That's it.
Well, yeah. And what you will see is a common theme. And this is, again, a great segue into the next game we're going to talk about. Two of the teams that are title challengers, really, in my eyes, do an exceptional job of controlling the pace of the game, whereas one kind of struggles. Sometimes they want to play more of a basketball game. That's kind of the pace that they play. And that's what City does. When City has control of the game, it's almost like Darth Vader with his hand over the game. They just kind of manipulate. They manipulate all 22 players on the pitch when they want to. When they have that stranglehold on the game, that they put your players in places they don't want to be, which is wild. But that's just how Pep plays. That's a Pep thing. The problem is when the game doesn't go their way, which is what you saw against Palace. They get uncomfortable with it. And that's really why there's sometimes that they could falter, although by a high margin, they're successful, but where they could sometimes falter because they want to manipulate the tempo of the game. And they do such an outstanding job of manipulating the tempo of the game to the tempo they want it to be. The struggle is when they don't get that tempo. So moving into the next game, we had Chelsea, who threw away points against Burnley. And that's really the only way you could look at it. They threw away points. You have Burnley at home. You have a 1-0 lead late. I don't know if you caught the game, but Burnley got outshot 25-5. Chelsea had 70% possession. And it ended up being a 1-1 game. Chelsea gives up a goal in the 79th.
I didn't catch this one.
So, I mean,
Tell me about it.
I didn't catch it either. I was actually out at this time. But and again, we will get into the third of the triumvirate of challengers this week, but it seems like every week somebody isn't answering the bell. Actually, now it's 2 weeks in a row where two teams haven't answered the bell. We will get to the third team, but Chelsea at home against Burnley should be 3 points. Easy peasy, no fuss, should be 3 points, particularly in a game where you have 70% possession and you outshoot them 25-5, but everybody gets a Burnley, and they got Burnleyed. I mean, again, I didn't watch the game. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm fully in tune of what went on, and I know that puts it in an ugly place for analysis, but just looking at the stats of the game, it looks like a Burnley game. They didn't have possession. They didn't have control. They were throwing long passes. and hung in defensively. I mean, Chelsea had 14 corners. Burnley had 2. Burnley were offsides 4 times. Burnley had 4 yellow cards. That's Chelsea got Burnley. That's as simple as it can be. Burnley clawed and clawed and clawed. They probably tried to heave balls long, hence the offside. They hung in defensively, and they got a 1-1. And Chelsea has to look at that as 2 points dropped. And City, with the way this weekend went, they're buzzing. They are buzzing. Again, as I'm doing such a marvelous job of transitioning in this episode, I really have to pat my back on transitioning. Leo, this is more of a trivia question. There are 2 teams who have not lost in their last 5 games. I'm sorry. There's 3. There's 3. There are 3 teams that have not lost in the last 5 games. Can you name them?
Arsenal.
1.
Brighton. Brentford.
Not Brentford. No. So it's Arsenal, the team we just named, the team we were just talking about. Literally just talking about. The team who I was breaking down that played Burnley.
Oh, Chelsea.
So Arsenal, Chelsea, and 1 other team, also from London.
West Ham.
No, Crystal Palace.
Damn.
Crystal Palace, who won 2-0 against Wolves this weekend, and cheating a bit. They have 2 wins and 3 draws in their last 5, but still, they're 3-6-2 this year. They have a positive goal difference. They're sitting in 10th. They have the same amount of points as Everton and Leicester City, have a better goal difference than both of them. And like I said, they haven't lost in the last 5 games. And I think we both sat here and said how well Wolves have been playing and how we were excited to see them push on. And actually, if Wolves had won this game, I know if, they would have moved to 6th. They would have been in 6th with the way the results went this weekend, but they didn't. And Crystal Palace have now turned around their season. I mean, they got 2 late goals. They took care of, relatively late goals. They took care of business, and they're sitting 10th. They're sitting right in the middle of the table. And I believe when we went through our season predictions, I was a little bit higher on Palace. I thought that Vieira was going to do some nice things. Conor Gallagher, who actually scored in this game, I was very impressed by at West Brom, and I felt like he would do something for Palace, and he has. He's looked very bright. And Palace really dominated this game. Again, I wasn't around for the 10 o'clock stretch of games, but I was keeping tabs on this one in particular.
They're comparing Gallagher's stats with Romeo Lukaku stats. I saw
and Grealish and
Foden.
I mean, Conor Gallagher is a player. Conor Gallagher is a very, very good player. He is. He's very bright. He looked good on a West Brom team that was atrocious last year. He looked very good.
Damn. Yeah.
So I'm impressed by them. I'm impressed with how resilient they've been, because there were a lot of people that were ready to give. And this is why I was about to say there's a lot of people that gave up on them. But this is why you can't jump to assumptions right away. We're still early in the season. I mean, you can't say Palace are crap because they lost to Chelsea, because their losses are against teams that are Good. And they beat Man City at Man City. They won 2-0 against Man City at Man City. I mean, this season, they have played Chelsea, who they lost to. They played Liverpool, who they lost to, but they drew against West Ham. They beat Tottenham. They drew against Arsenal. They drew against Leicester City. They beat Man City. Those are some scalps. Like, and they have a soft part of the schedule coming up. They have Burnley, Villa, Leeds. They can do some damage. Like, if you look at their stretch before the new year, Burnley, Villa, Leeds, United, which of course is tricky, Everton, who's probably tricky, Southampton, Watford, Tottenham, Norwich. We could be looking at a team that's really well positioned by the beginning of 2022. Really well positioned.
Yeah, the right game could put them in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, they have a nice stretch coming. So, want to pick up the pace a little bit. Next 2 games, we can really just thumb over quick. Congratulations to Norwich City getting a win. Sorry, Daniel Farke, you were fired as manager directly after a win, which I feel like is kind of shitty to do to a guy. He finally gets a win, gets some momentum, and then gets his job taken away. I mean, they're still at the bottom of the table, but at least they are not winless. But who is still winless is Newcastle. Newcastle did get a draw against Brighton, a 10-man Brighton, but they are the only winless team. I actually did end up watching that game, and I actually think that Newcastle should have got a penalty late in the game that would have lined them up for a win, but they didn't. And they are 0-5-6. So they're pretty rancid. And now going into yesterday's games. I'm sorry. The 9:00 block was very chock full. I was watching both Everton, Tottenham, and Arsenal, Watford, while Leeds and Leicester were on a side screen. You said you watched Everton, Tottenham. What were some of your takeaways on that game?
It was a very bad game. I mean, I thought it was going to be 2 teams that are very well matched. I mean, they're close enough on the board, and maybe that's why it was that boring, because each one was really just being passive, taking care of their shit, and not really attacking much. There was a couple of chances here and there. I mean, you have the eager forwards that always want to attack, but it seems like as a team, it wasn't a whole team vibe. It was very choppy, lots of fouls, lots of turnovers. No team could really get much going. It was a whole different story than what Man United, Man City was, that you'd see one team just dominating. And this team, they were both just kind of tripping over themselves. And I turned it off towards the end because I knew something in me said, nobody's going to score in this fucking game. It's boring. I didn't like it.
So I feel like the best description of this game would be found in a conversation I had with one of my Tottenham supporting friends. I said, because he was saying how Conte, like we were having a conversation about Conte and building up the team, and he said it's kind of tough to build up offensive rhythm when you basically had no practices with the team. And then I took it a step further and said it's really, really difficult when you're facing a team whose entire perspective is let's dive on the floor and throw everything off. You will never, ever see me support Everton. But quite frankly, what Alon and Richarlison were doing yesterday was diabolical. It was ugly. It took away from the game. I mean, Richarlison just, all he was doing was putting himself in a position to complain for a penalty. That was his only offense. And you could say, yeah, well, he made nice runs to get himself into the box, but there were at least 2 or 3 times where he was coming up like, what? It wasn't a penalty. And the penalty that went to VAR, number 1, he was offsides. Number 2, Larry got the ball. So I don't know what he was bitching about. And then Alon coming behind, yelling and screaming and getting a yellow card. Rafa needs to handle his shit there. And if he can't, he needs to get rid. He needs to get rid of him. I know that it's a lot to say get rid of Richarlison. He might be your second best offensive player behind Calvert-Lewin, but
that's almost 2 weekends in a row. Maybe 2 weekends in a row, or when did he pull that other?
That was earlier in the season when he was complaining about the penalty, when he was complaining about taking the penalty, where he had a fight with his team over why I'm not taking the penalty. You're a nuisance. You're a nuisance. You're bad for the team. You're rotten to the core. You're rotting this team. But what I do need to emphasize is Spurs didn't get caught in that crap, which is very mature by them. That game was sitting on knife edge where Everton knew they weren't going to get something from the game unless they made Spurs come out of their shell and Spurs react. It's kind of like somebody who's poking at you just so you throw the first punch. Like just poking you in the shoulder, poking you in the face, like throw a punch, I dare you. And they didn't. Spurs kept their composure and got the draw. Now, would they have rather the 3 points? Yeah. But they got a draw. So that's impressive on them. I'm interested to see how the Conte project works. I mean, if somebody said this on a different podcast I was listening to, and I think it's absolutely true. If Harry Kane and Heung-Min Son can't win a trophy with Antonio Conte, they're never going to win a trophy. They're just not. They're just not. Like Conte is, and when you look at his pedigree and what he's done, he's one of the top 3 managers in world football. He just is. I mean, everywhere he's gone, he's won. He changes philosophy. He changes the way a team works. Everybody says he's such a great defensive manager, and he is. He's a great defensive manager. But look at the free-flowing offenses he's created. Look at what he did with Inter. Look at what he did with Chelsea when he was with Chelsea. Juventus, he had them scoring like crazy. He's a very elite manager. He's extremely elite. And that game was a tough way to see how Spurs would play, but I'm interested to see going forward how Spurs look with the Conte project. And any thoughts beyond that?
You know me, I've never been very informed on following a lot of coaches as I should. But I hear good things from Conte. So, I mean, hopefully we can see more. I mean, it's a shame that Tottenham's playing the way they are this season. Not the Tottenham that I was expecting to see between Son and Kane and Moura. You know, all those guys have real skill. And they haven't gotten to where I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to be riding 4th or 5th place up there with the big guys this whole season, and there's something missing. You can tell by how they play. So hopefully that'll change.
Well, I think that I know that they got the managerial appointment of Nuno completely wrong, like completely. I think that the fact that they got 15 points in 10 games, and I know 15 points in 10 games is not great, but the fact that they were able to get those points kind of does give Conte a little bit of a head start. I'm interested to see how they do going forward, because right now they have the same record as Wolves, but they have a -7 goal difference because they've had a couple of bad losses in there. But Brighton, United, Arsenal are ahead of them before you get to the top four. I would think that they are comfortably going to finish ahead of Wolves and Brighton. United might be a step too far. Arsenal, I'm interested to see, and we'll pivot to that discussion right now. Yeah, they got a win, got back to 0 goal difference, but it was 1-0 over Watford. Watford are not very good. I do want to give a brief discussion of Watford. I know they've lost their last 2 games, but of course they did have the nice win over Everton. Here's what's wild, just to jump around for a minute, and then we'll get into more talk about Arsenal. Tottenham in 9th, Leeds in 15th, and Watford in 17th all have the same goal difference this year, -7. Digest that for a second. That's pretty wild. And to take it a step further, Burnley in 18th have a better goal difference at -6. That's pretty crazy to think of. That's pretty crazy to think. And yeah, it's all over the place right now. I just had this game on because I wanted to see how Arsenal looked, mainly because that's who Liverpool play next. But another 1-0 win. Their defense has just looked great of late, like very good. Like since the City game where they allowed 5, they allowed nothing, 1, 2, 1, nothing. They have three clean sheets on the bounce, and that includes an EFL Cup game. They got something going, and I think I said the last time we talked that I think that Arsenal will play like the 5th best team in the league for the remainder of the season, and I hold that point. Do you have any thoughts on the game?
What is it? Their 10th game, 1 in a row?
No. It's their
Amazing.
third win in a row. They like I alluded to earlier, they, along with Chelsea and Crystal Palace, are the only ones without a loss in their last 5 games.
Yeah. Something turned around. I don't know. Not much thoughts. I mean, I want to see how they follow through. I want to see how they play against a United that's kind of hurt right now. I want to see how they stack up against the teams that are in their level usually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Not against Watford,
Well, before we get to the game that I'm sure you want to discuss very badly, Leeds and Lester were a 1-1. I don't know if you saw the 2 goals. They were very good. Rafinha and Harvey Barnes did score very, very good goals. That being said, this continues a very meh start to the season for Leicester City. They are in 12th. They're 4-3-3. I mean, they're a very weird team. They are. They're definitely better than 12th, but I don't know how I can say they're definitely better than 12th, but I also don't know how I can say they're better than 12th.
They're almost like a Brentford, Brighton type of team where they're good.
But they shouldn't. But they shouldn't be a Brentford Brighton type team. They should be where And I'm doing so great with transitions right now. They should be where West Ham are. Wow, I'm just killing it with transitions today.
That was good.
So,
Who are you?
what are you? So I need to open it with levity, because if we don't laugh, we cry. So for the first time in 7 months, Liverpool have lost a game of football. 25 game win streak over. And I can't say anything more than it was coming. You had the Brentford game, you had the Brighton game in Europe, you had the AC Milan game, you had the Atletico Madrid game. I mean, you had City pegging you back twice. It was coming. And I can't say anything against how West Ham played. Moyes had them drilled. I mean, they score the goal. If did you watch the game?
No.
Okay. So first goal, they harassed Allison on a corner, which is totally fair to do. That's the job of attackers, defenders. Harass the goalie on a corner. That's your job. And Allison had it very, very much so in his head. I need to handle it. I need to handle it. I need to handle it. And he was too caught up on if he was fouled or not to go after the ball. And he just kind of wobbly arms and it went in. And then from that point forward, West Ham said 11 men defending. Come break us down, Liverpool. And Liverpool couldn't. Then they score a goal. Then Liverpool gets a wonder goal, gets to 1-1. And I knew. And
Golazo.
Yeah. And then I was saying to a bunch of Liverpool supporting friends, we have 15 minutes here. Liverpool have 15 minutes here to go after West Ham before West Ham just say, you know what, 1-1 is fine for us. And Liverpool took those 15 minutes. The first 15 minutes of the second half, Liverpool had the front foot. Sloppy giveaway by Mane in the middle of the pitch. And then Bowen runs right down the middle of the pitch. 5 Liverpool defenders around them, including Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who knew he was coming off the pitch. None of them foul him. If you're running right down the middle with 5 defenders around you, and those defenders know they're going to get beat for pace, somebody needs to trip him. You take the yellow card there, you get the free kick, but you don't allow the goal.
Even all the way back to Trent Alexander-Arnold. I mean, he could have gotten a red card there, and it would have been a good red card.
Well,
somebody had to trip him up.
Yeah,
nobody did.
We'll talk about
Matip.
Right. We'll talk about red cards as well. I wouldn't have went for a red. It wouldn't have been a red card. It would have been a yellow card. You're not gonna.
For Chamberlain, it would have been a red card. But where Trent Alexander could have called him,
you just tactically fouled there.
Red card territory.
You grab him by the. Don't even go at the feet. Grab him by the shoulder. Just grab him by the shoulder. Do something. And then, of course, he gives up the pass to Fornals, who scores the goal. And there's a lot of people who say Allison probably should have made a better save at it. And he could have. I mean, he did get a hand to the ball, but he didn't fully grab it. It just wasn't a good setup the whole way. And then the third goal was the same as the first. Allison was more concerned about Antonio harassing him on the corner than anything else that was going on. Zuma was free on the back post, boom, goal. And then of course Liverpool do get their goal, make it 3-2, but that was coming. That
Zuma goal, I'm looking at it now. I would give Allison the benefit of the doubt there, more so than on the first goal. On the first goal, he did get distracted. He pretty much has a license to kill once once the ball is being thrown at him that way. And he didn't take advantage of that, didn't take ownership of that. But on this second one, I mean, the ball it was actually a great cross, but where was the marking? There's nobody marking him. Nobody was taking that second post. Trent was there with ball watching, and yeah.
Yes, I mean Allison, and I don't want to blame him, but you could tell he was involved with what was going on around him on corners, and everybody, look, every Liverpool fan knew West Ham are going to give you problems on corners. They're big. That's what they are. They're big, hulking guys who are going to give you problems from set pieces. That's what they do. They're very, very good at set pieces, and they did. I mean, they beat us. They beat us on 2 set pieces and a breakaway goal. And much like we were talking about with City, Liverpool slid Trent Alexander-Arnold in on the right side. So he was playing more like a midfielder, and Hendo was playing on the overlap as more of a wing back offensively, and West Ham were all over that. And then on the left side, Andrew Robertson did not look good. Mane had 2 golden opportunities that he missed for goals. He was not good. I don't know how I feel about the international break, because now it's an international break. I don't know if that's a good thing for Liverpool or a bad thing for Liverpool, but either way, they needed this. I know it's not great. They moved back to 4th. They are the first English team to get to 30 goals, which is great, but they've also now allowed 11, which is far off of Chelsea at 4 allowed, and also still almost double of the 6 that City have allowed. So their defense is kind of leaking a little bit this year. It is the 3rd best defense in the league, but they're far off of Chelsea and City. And I alluded to it earlier. They need to stop playing basketball games. They need to stop. They need to stand on the ball. They need to stop trying to play a fast-paced offense all the time. Stop playing like you're trying to score 7 goals a game. That wasn't how Liverpool won a title in 1920. That wasn't how they looked so impressive in 1819. Like I said, I have a couple Liverpool groups that I'm in, and somebody said that it looks like what 17-18 would have looked like if they had Virgil van Dijk all year. And that's right. That's what they look like. They look like 17-18 Liverpool, but they have Virgil van Dijk, who you have to say saved Liverpool from not allowing 5 or 6 yesterday. There were at least one or two golden opportunities for West Ham that Virgil stopped, and it could have been worse. And the worst part about it is West Ham didn't even really have a lot of control of the game. Liverpool 70-30 in possession. Liverpool had 70% possession yesterday. West Ham had 3 shots on target. They had 3 goals. Now, one of the goals was written down as an own goal, so they technically scored on 2 of their 3 shots on target. But when you're not allowing shots, when you have 70% of the possession, you should win the game. And when you really look at it, Liverpool's 2 goals, one was a wonder goal by Trent Alexander-Arnold, and one was a very, very good goal from Divock Origi. So it's not even like Liverpool made their goals well. It was kind of lucky. I don't want to say lucky, but it wasn't like Liverpool made their goals well. And just another comment that I heard was, the problem is Liverpool make their goals look so hard. Like when Liverpool score a goal, it looks hard. When they allow a goal, it looks easy. Like the other team gets in, bing, bang, boom, 2 passes, goal. which is a big problem. Which really comes down to the frenetic pace of the game that Liverpool wants to play, and also could more so come into the fact that no Genie Wijnaldum kills them. So they have to handle that. Any further thoughts?
I'm not happy about international break, but James is back in the squad. I want to get back to where I can watch the EPL because this past weekends have been a little busy, but I'm excited. I mean, this is the my favorite thing to watch. So I'm ready to see United win it all, and can't get back from international break.
Okay, well, we'll wrap it up here. It's always fun. We will do it again next time after the international break. Leo, you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir. See y'all later.